Hello, welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, it is January 1st, 2025. Buddy, how was your New Year's? What's going on, dude?
Well, a happy New Year to everybody out there. Mine was a little more tame, I have to say.
No partying?
Past year, nah, no really going anywhere. Just kind of hanging back in the old office, watching the ball drop, and
Wow.
I just gotta watch that. Then I hear Sinatra, and then that's all I need for the night. So I'm not staying up till 1:30 listening to music acts I don't know. They're like, this is whoever the hell. She's got a #1 song. I'm like, you could have put a gun to my head. I wouldn't have named any of those songs.
I was watching at a buddy's house, and for some reason, the Roku didn't have like the New York version. So we were watching like the Nashville broadcast. So we just got like Jelly Roll and all those.
Nashville, bro. Well,
it was funny
because the ball drops in the East Coast, Justin.
Oh, well, I know that they thankfully showed when the ball dropped in New York. They weren't just like, hey, it's gonna be an hour until it's actually New Year, and but it was interesting. A lot of country artists who I didn't know. I was like, who is Tyler Hubbard?
I can't do. Old country's cool. New country, I just hear Charlie Brown adult speak with Jesus and beer. That's all I hear.
You're gonna make some people mad with that comment.
You know what? At this point, because the Jets aren't giving us a ton of football to talk about, we're going to have to talk about that.
We got to do a whole show. We just talk about music.
We're going to do head coach speculation. We got to do quarterback speculation. We got to do players who are leaving.
Yeah.
One of whom I think already is at the top of our list because he said as much. And really, you talk about burning bridges with a fan base. Boy, did player X ever do that. So we'll get into all that. Thank you guys for tuning in. A happy New Year to you guys. There's a couple ways you can support the show. If the audio, if that's your bag, we're on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And we're on YouTube at the Jet Press. So if you want to support the show, like the stream, that little thumbs up icon, that really does help push us up the algorithm. You can subscribe for free, get our subscriber count up, and for 99 cents a month, you get a membership where you get priority replies in the chat, which can get really busy on game days. And that's a good way to make sure all your questions, comments, will be heard. So, Justin, let's talk about the lead up to what is going to be quite a great cleansing of the Jets roster. Because who cares about the game against the Dolphins? The Dolphins fans care, but for the Jets, it offers no.
I mean, I want to get that second overall pick, buddy. It's technically possible.
It would be funny, though, to win and spoil the Dolphins playoff.
Would it be fun to beat Snoop Huntley? Like, who cares?
It would be fun to knock the Dolphins out of the playoffs, yes.
They're going to probably be knocked out anyway if the Broncos beat Carson Wentz and the Chiefs backups.
But you don't know that. And that would still be funny. Because Dolphins fans they used to be the team I minded the least in the division. Now it's Buffalo. They are right up there in New England after.
I hate Dolphins fans. They're not my least favorite fan base, but one of my least favorite fan bases.
Well, Dolphins fans hate Jets fans, and so does DJ Reed, apparently, because DJ Reed, a guy who went from a true, genuine, feel-good success story. He wasn't like a star player. He wasn't even really just a complete dart throw, but he had a couple nice years with Seattle and San Francisco. Comes to the Jets as one of Joe Douglas's first big free agent signings on a 3-year deal, and maybe his best free agent signing that he's had. You can make a case for it.
Yeah.
Where for 2 years, they had the best cornerback duo and possibly trio in the league with Sauce Gardner and Michael Carter, and Reed was a big part of that. I know he obviously wasn't as good as Sauce, so fans kind of never gave him the credit he deserved, but all the numbers said he was a great number 2 cornerback, and for a smaller guy to mold himself into that kind of corner, true developmental success story. True Robert Saleh developmental success story, wink, wink. Then this year happens. They're projected to be Super Bowl contenders. They go 4-12. So obviously everybody's upset. And they should not be faulted at all for being upset. If they're not upset, I really question their football character. Like, I don't think Hassan Reddick's upset, and I question that. But DJ Reed, I think partially, I was reading that article from Tyler Dunn. I mean, there was some real despair there, where he genuinely was like, we were supposed to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be making plays.
So I was supposed to have 10 picks.
You could hear just how broken he was in those quotes. And then they asked him basically, are you going to come back? He basically said, I'm not coming back next year. Just lock it in. And we kind of knew that anyway, just because the Jets need to pay so many people. He's getting a little bit older. They have Sauce and Carter when he's healthy, so they could theoretically lose him and still, on paper, have a very good cornerback room. But to do that in the way that he did it, to say, oh, I'm absolutely out of this place because it sucks here and I hate it. It may suck here and you may hate it because we hate it right now. We hate the Jets right now and how they played. For a guy to say that, especially now, that's a good way to take whatever goodwill you have with the fan base and just after a dare I say, bad year or a disappointing year for him as a player, to just totally light it on fire. It's a really sad way for his career to end here.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think he really cares. The vibe that
he may not care, but the fan base has to care.
Some fans will care. I don't particularly care. I get why some fans would see that and be like, oh yeah, fuck this guy. Like he shouldn't be saying that. I understand that perspective, but it doesn't personally bother me. I see a guy who's very clearly extremely frustrated with this season, with the locker room, with the organization, and with the losing. And he's just like, yeah, man, I'm ready to get out of here. Like I'm ready to leave. And it also, I imagine this is partially a result of the Jets making it very clear to him, probably since the summer, that they don't plan to extend him. And we knew this going into the year that he probably wasn't going to be back in 2025. I think when they extended Michael Carter, that kind of confirmed it because it's like, they're going to pay Sauce Gardner. We know that he's going to get probably the richest contract of a cornerback in NFL history. They paid Michael Carter, made him the highest paid slot in NFL history. DJ Reed wasn't going to get paid. You can't pay 3 cornerbacks in one room, especially given the way that this season has gone. It's very obvious that he's gone. So I see a guy who's very just clearly frustrated, knows he's leaving. The exact quote, by the way, which we referenced, this was the second part is where he's like, I'm ready to leave. But the first part is wild because he was talking about, how disappointing essentially this season is going to be, or this season has been. And he was looking back to the beginning of the year and thinking like, man, like we were supposed to be so good. The exact quote, he goes, I was going to have 10 picks. We were going to be elite. I thought that we'd be up.
DJ Reed has 6 picks in his career, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he's exaggerating, but he has 0 picks this year. That would be up in the score late in games and teams would have to throw the ball and I'm going to make plays on the ball. And that does seem like that was the mindset that this defense expected it to be that way. The offense, the entire team expected it to be that way. It was Aaron Rodgers coming back. The offense was going to be good and the defense was going to be able to feast when they didn't have to bail out the offense all the time. That was our mindset going into the year, Mike. I don't think either of us.
It was everybody's mindset.
Right. I don't think anyone was saying DJ Reed was going to have 10 picks, but that was our mindset. And that was the expectation. Obviously, that didn't happen. Tyler Dunn then asked DJ Reed if he wants to be around next season. DJ Reed shook his head and said, I'm ready to go to free agency, bro. I'm ready to see what's next for me. That's what it is. He's going to be gone. We're going to talk about a lot of players that will be gone because I do expect the Jets to very much overhaul their roster of all the veterans who are either on expiring contracts or can be cut. DJ Reed, of course, is on an expiring contract. And even if the Jets were good this year, even if this was a 12-win team and they were making a run at the Super Bowl, I still don't think DJ Reed would have been back in 2025. The fact that the Jets are terrible solidifies that notion. It doesn't bother me that he made his comments too much, but I understand why it would bother some fans.
Here's the problem I have. You know what? I'm going to be a little mean because this team's 4-12. I'm starting off the new year being cantankerous. How about that, Justin?
Sure, man. Oh, big words to start the year, too.
Yeah, I'm quite not ubiquitous. What was I about to say? Verbose. That's what I was about to say.
Verbose, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Always had a penchant for that.
All right. So, now you're just showing off.
Here's the thing, DJ Reed. I get being upset. I get knowing you're not going to be back, because he probably had some inclination before, and his agents talk. And again, I don't want this to come off as DJ Reed as a person. He seems like a great guy.
Absolutely.
Seems like a very nice guy that everybody likes to be around. The problem with those comments is he said we were going to be up late and we were going to make plays on the ball. You know when the Jets were up late this year? Seattle game, Kansas City game.
Yeah, they had opportunities.
Sorry, Kansas City. What am I saying? Indianapolis game.
Yeah.
They had tons of opportunities. Buffalo, the first time. They had chances to make plays on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of it is because Robert Saleh left and Jeff Ulbrich came in. I sent Justin a chart, by the way. In terms of EPA per dropback, when Robert Saleh had gotten fired, the Jets were, I think they were first last year, too, in EPA per dropback.
Yeah.
They were 5th through 5 games this year. They are now 27th, and that is starting from 5th. And after not even a full season, down to 27. That shows you what a defensive whiz, wunderkind Jeff Ulbrich is. Part of it is on DJ Reed. He just has, as a player, has declined. The problem with these comments, too, and he may not have intended for it to come out like this, when you say that, it just sounds like you're quitting. And he's going to play next week if he's healthy, probably. It just sounds like mentally you've quit. And you know what? Guys on this team probably mentally have quit. You can't say it. You can let us think it. You can't say it. Especially after Sauce Gardner, your cornerback mate this year, who is going to be here, said after the Bills game, I think a lot of people are mentally checked out.
Which they are.
And then you say a couple days later, I am mentally checked out. I'm not even leaving this up to interpretation. Yeah. You can't do that. And I know that we're past the point of this looks bad optically, because this would be like a 3-alarm fire on any other team. With the Jets, it's just like, okay, it's Tuesday. But you can't keep adding to it. It's just not a good look.
I pulled up the exact numbers, by the way. Since week 6, since Jeff Ulbricht's first game, the Jets are 31st in the NFL in EPA per dropback.
So let me guess who's worse, Carolina?
No, the Panthers are 28th. Nope, they're 30th. The Jaguars, some have a better pass defense than the Jets since Russell was fired. The only team that's worse, the New York Giants, and it's not by much. The Jets are 0.26 EPA per dropback, and then the Giants are 0.26.
How can both of these teams be this bad for this long in this city?
It's pretty wild.
And if you look at the last 10 years, I think the only teams with a worse record than these two are the Jaguars. And the Jaguars have won a couple playoff games, and Trevor Lawrence and the AFC Championship game. Like, they've had more momentum than the Jets and the Giants.
Outside of that one year where the Giants went on that weird playoff run a couple years ago, they have been.
And then they tanked their franchise after that by paying Daniel Jones. So.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, look, I think honestly, the DJ Reed comments, they tell more about the state of the organization than they do DJ Reed as a person or as a player. I think it's just very indicative of what's going on in that locker room right now. It's a bunch of guys just pointing fingers at each other, pointing fingers at everyone else but themselves, which when shit's going wrong like this, I get it. It's probably natural instinct in a lot of cases.
There's not one person at fault here.
No, of course not. There's not a single individual person at fault. And it's very easy for a player like DJ Reed, who is a very good player. And we know he's a very good player. And I know Jets fans are going to turn on him. And honestly, he's not had a very good year. I know he got off to a really good start. It's fallen apart since then. But it's very easy for a player like
everybody's fallen apart.
Exactly. It's very easy to play a player like that to kind of look around and be like, boy, this is a total mess around me. Like, this is a dysfunctional mess. And it's like, just like I say this all the time, it's a snowball effect. And there could be a positive snowball effect. You look at a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not a one-loss team. Like, they're worse. They're worse than that. They're worse than their record shows. But when everything is good and when vibes are great and teammates are vibing, like, things are going to go right. You're just going to get more things that go right. You're going to get those lucky bounces more than a team like the Jets that is just so stuck in their own misery. More things are going to go wrong. And I think that it kind of manifests itself throughout the locker room, throughout the organization. That's more so what this is indicative of me. Not as much like DJ Reed being, selfish or whatever you want to say. I get fans are going to be pissed about it. I'm still very grateful and happy for his time with the Jets, and I hope he gets a big payday this offseason. He probably will, because he's still 28. I know he probably could have earned himself a little bit more money this year if he had like a baller season. But again, that's just the issues around him are not very
Someone
good.
will pay him, though.
Someone will, absolutely. He's probably the top corner on the market, right? Like, what other corners are on the market?
Oh, really?
What other corners are hitting free agency?
I feel like there's got to be one better than DJ Reed, right?
I don't know. He's 28 years old. Is Charvarius Ward.
Oh, yeah, Ward.
Ward will be the top corner. But I don't know if he actually tests free agency. Well, honestly, low-key, Rasul Douglas has been great for the Bills, but I think they keep him.
Man, this is Byron Murphy's been getting better, too, for the Vikings.
Yeah.
He's got like 5 picks.
He's going to be one of the top corners on the market. He's going to get good money. I'm happy for him. It won't be with the Jets, though, Mike. He definitely will not be back in 2025.
He'll be one of many who won't be back in 2025. I do find it funny, by the way, though, that like Jets fans justifiably will hate this team and hate Woody Johnson and everything going on. And then a guy does this. It's like, hey, what? We're no good here? What's wrong with us? Like,
yeah.
It's so much better than me. Like, I love that attitude.
The whole mindset of like, oh, you can make fun of my favorite, or I can make fun of my favorite team, but you can't. Like, that's what it is.
What are we, chop liver? So moving on to who won't be back in 2025. Reed confirmed. Let's address the elephant in the room, or the two elephants in the room, rather.
Sure. Aaron
Rodgers and Devontae Adams, because they are buddy-buddy. They are a package deal. I stand by my statement from last year. I stand by it. Of all the options that are available on the market, the Jets are not getting Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think he probably, with every win, it's more likely he stays
I think he stays right now. I don't think it's a given like people are saying, but I do think he probably stays. And we'll talk about that more later.
Unless the market just goes crazy because there's such a weak quarterback class. The best option realistically in terms of getting production from the quarterback spot, who's going to throw the most yards and touchdowns, is still Aaron Rodgers. And I believe that unequivocally for 2025.
Sure.
But with all the reports coming out now about how Rodgers is just done with Woody, basically 1 year, because he wasn't even with the team for most of last year. 1 year, he's done with Woody, understandably.
Sounds like Woody's done with Rodgers, too. I think it's a mutual feeling.
Yeah, and this is the first time in his career he's pretty much had an owner because of how the Packers work.
Yeah.
And then you have all the guys he gets Woody.
Rodgers and Woody,
like Steve Bisciotti in Baltimore or Jeffrey Lurie, he gets Woody Johnson.
It is not shocking that Rodgers and Woody do not get along. Like, I feel like personality-wise, they're vastly different people.
But he likes Chris, which makes sense because they're both kind of laid-back good guys, and then Woody's just neurotic.
Most people like Chris. I understand Jets fans will hate Christopher Johnson because of the whole Adam Gase stuff, and totally fair. That is a valid reason to dislike him. But he's well-liked around the organization. Like, by all accounts, he's liked. He's liked by the players and the coaches.
He doesn't let his children make GM decisions either.
Right.
So it looks more and more like he won't be back. And even if they're going to take it on chin for a year, even with a new coach and a new GM, it seems like that's the plan. You can like it or not. All signs are pointing to, if you're a tea leaf reader, that's the plan.
Correct.
So that means that Adams is probably going to be gone too. And that sucks.
Does it?
Because you're going to get rid of Rodgers and Adams, who are still – Rodgers is still a pretty okay quarterback. Even with everything that's gone on, like – you still see it where, like, man, Rodgers can make some plays. Like, the arm is still there. It's just not as consistent, and he can't move around as much. But for quarterbacks of his age, I think he's still way above average. But he's going to be gone.
What other quarterback of his age is? There's no other quarterback of his age.
I mean, throughout history.
Sure.
I mean, that's what happens. Vinny Testaverde, all that. I mean,
that's what happens when you're one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Even if you regress, you're still good. Like, you're not going to be dog shit.
Right. So then you move off him. Then you got to tell a new GM, all right, Aaron Rodgers is gone. I know you may have liked to work with Aaron Rodgers at some point in your football career, but he's going to be gone. Garrett Wilson, you have him. He's a great receiver. His status is up in the air because he's just pissed because the team sucks. So he might ask for a trade, and no one will fault him for it because he clearly wants to win, and the Jets can't win right now. Oh, and you got to get rid of Devontae Adams, because he doesn't want to stay around and rebuild at this stage of his career. Because I don't think he has a ring, Devontae. No, he doesn't, because he came after the
he didn't win it with Green Bay.
He wants a ring. So that's a tough way to sell your new GM. Hey, come here and immediately tear everything down, and then maybe you'll get 2 more years. That's a tough sell. I get it.
I think any GM coming in would also want to do this, Mike. Like, I really think. I don't think any GM really coming here would want to keep Aaron Rodgers financially, as we've been over. And as I've been saying for weeks, it's really, really detrimental to keep Aaron Rodgers on the roster in 2025. Like, it kills your cap.
There are also GMs who say, you could still kind of, I know this year just everything's gone wrong, but in a vacuum, there's still an okay quarterback there. And I don't want to get rid of that for just more complete unknowns in a weak class. Like, look at Joe Douglas. The one thing he couldn't get right was quarterback. Like, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm saying some GMs wouldn't want to start over at quarterback because they know how much of their tenure as a GM is going to be tied to it. Because Douglas, I thought, did a good job pretty much everywhere else. It was the offensive line. It took him 6 years to get it right, and then he never got the quarterback right.
Rodgers has been good in great situations. When he's been given a ton of time this year, when he's faced bad defenses, and when he's been healthy, he's been able to feast. Unfortunately, all 3 of those things will not be the case throughout an entire 17-game season next year. It's just not going to be. A good stat earlier today I saw from Michael Nania. Aaron Rodgers has the 2nd lowest pressure rate in the NFL this season, but he's 31st out of 35 quarterbacks in a clean pocket. That's really bad. Like, that's all. And that stat is EPA per dropback, right? He's 31st out of 35 in EPA per dropback. The Jets' offensive line has been good. It's been good for a lot of this year, especially over the last second half of the season, has been very good. Aaron Rodgers has not been able to take advantage of that. And when he's even a slightly banged up, as we've seen, he falls apart. And I just, again, In a perfect world, yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers, if he is healthy for 17 games and is in a great situation, I think he could be a 15th best quarterback in the league next year. But that's not going to happen. Like I feel so confident in saying that would not happen. He's going to get hurt. He's going to be banged up, and this is going to be another year. He's going to be 42 at the end of the season. It's going to be another year. I think it's idealistic viewing that and seeing like, oh, we have Aaron Rodgers. We know what he could be. It feels like you're just like people are talking themselves into that and not looking at the reality of the situation, which is he's not going to be that. He's not going to be the player that you think he is. He's not going to be who we saw against the Jaguars. That's not the Aaron Rodgers we're going to see for 17 games. Hell, it's not the Aaron Rodgers we're going to see for half 17 games. Maybe we'll see that a couple of games if he's healthy and playing a bad defense. But that's it. Like his best games this year came against Patriots in week 3, a very bad defense when
Jaguars.
he was healthy, before the injuries happened. And then the Jaguars a couple of weeks ago when he was healthy against a terrible defense. Those were his great games.
Titans.
Titans, and that wasn't even a great game. That was a good game, and it was also against one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Jamal Adams was starting, I think, for the Jaguars in that game, or for the Titans in that game. Yep. All right, it's a bad defense.
As Lucas says, though, from Rich Samini's podcast, Wilson trade talk becomes very real and even louder in the event that they stay. So At least that helped me too, because I thought after the last couple of weeks that trading Rodgers would be a catalyst for Wilson to leave, because he's like, oh God, here I go again with another quarterback. It seems like the opposite's true, which is actually good. 2 more Rodgers comments before we get on to some of the other guys. Actually, a couple more comments. Brandon, Jets need to have all their games moved to Thursdays.
Which is weird because Robert Saleh. That's weird because Robert Saleh was historically terrible on short weeks. I guess they did well at the Patriots week, but then the Texans game, Jeff Ulbrich. I don't know, man. Maybe Ulbrich's that's his specialty is short weeks.
And then 2 more on Rodgers before we get to some of the other veterans. Aaron, I don't think Rodgers is going to want to learn a new offensive system at this stage.
Unless he convinces another team to bring Hackett on with him, which holy crap if he does that. I mean, honestly, that's like
the funny thing about that when they go, oh, he doesn't want to learn. The last time he had to was when Matt LaFleur brought Hackett on, oddly enough, and ran his scheme, and then he won 2 MVPs. It's like the one time he got challenged intellectually because he thought Mike McCarthy was behind the times. It was like the best 2 years of his career. It's like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to do my own thing.
I honestly think there's a really good chance he retires still. Nobody knows. I don't know Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
We can't pretend to know what Aaron Rodgers is thinking. I'm just looking.
What contender would sign him?
Right, nobody. Like I honestly, I've seen the Browns.
Titans might. They're not a contender.
I've seen the Browns thrown out there, which oh my God,
Why would Aaron Rodgers go to the Browns?
Well, look, I honestly think that's a good place for him if they guarantee him a starting job, and Watson is going to be the backup, or who knows? He's obviously still recovering from the Achilles injury, so who knows when he'll be back. But that's a good. I mean, Kevin Stefanski. It sounds like they're keeping him. That's a pretty good coach. That's pretty good system to go into. They have a few pieces there. The offensive line is good. They still have some very good offensive linemen. I don't think that'd be a bad landing spot for him. It's I don't know if he's going to want to do that though.
And Phoenix, better the devil you know than the devil you don't.
I disagree. Not if that devil destroys your cap in 2026 and 2027. I completely disagree.
So some of the other veterans because a lot of the reports say basically they're wiping out so many of the veterans.
As they should.
There are some that I think should be back. Like Morgan Moses, I would not be opposed to coming back.
For sure.
Then there are some other ones out there. Honestly, this is kind of crazy. If he takes a huge pay cut, would not be crazy opposed to Lazard again.
Hold up. You just cut out. What did you say? You cut out completely.
If he takes a pay cut, I would not be crazy opposed to Lazard again.
Oh, Lazard? No, man, no.
If he takes a huge pay cut.
No. We're not. The Jets are not bringing back.
He's probably gone.
He's gone. Lazard is gone. They're not bringing back Lazard. He's gonna follow. If Rodgers retires, hell, I don't know. Alan Lazard might retire. Like he loves him that much.
I thought he looked okay earlier in the year before he got hurt, but
the drops are. He has a higher drop percentage this year than last year, and last year he led the league in drops,
which is crazy.
Guys who I think look. I'll run through the roster. Let's run through like some positions.
TJ Mosley, I think, is my immediate.
Let's go.
Sherwood's there.
Let's go position by position. Let's start offense. Wide receivers already just touched on. Running backs we don't have to talk about. Tight end. I'm a big Tyler Conklin guy. I love Tyler Conklin. I said that going into the year. He's been a little underwhelming this season. I think it's very, very clear that they're probably moving on. We mentioned it last stream. I think it's a really good tight end class. I like Tyler Conklin. I wouldn't be in a normal situation opposed to bringing him back as a tight end too, but he's also just not a good blocker. I'm ready to move on. I like Tyler Conklin, and I wish things went differently. Honestly, not a bad signing. He actually had some good seasons, but I think Tyler Conklin's gone. You're with me on that?
I'm with you on Conklin. I don't think 4 of the 5 offensive line starters, I think, are coming back.
Right. Moses, I think we're both in agreement on that. We would like to bring him back as a potential starting option. Then you draft a swing tackle, hopefully develop them. I like the continuity with this unit. They need better depth, like especially at tackle, because Fashanu's starting now. Carter Warren and Max Mitchell cannot be your backup tackles going into next year. And
they can't even be a practice squad tackle.
Right. In terms of interior, I mean, Wes Schweitzer can't stay healthy, and then I'm not sure what you're asking for with Xavier Newman and Jake Hansen. Maybe one of them could be for a roster spot, but you need better depth. But the starters are coming back. D-line, that's going to get revamped. That's very much going to get revamped. Quinnen will be back, but in terms of we're talking obviously Hassan Reddick obviously is gone. Javon Kinlaw obviously is gone. Michael Clemens is under contract. I don't think he makes the 53-man roster next year. He shouldn't. Honestly, knowing this team, they might still bring back Solomon Thomas could be back.
That's Salah's baby. He's going to go wherever Salah goes.
That's also actually a great point. He might just follow Salah. Maybe Kinlaw will too. Who knows? But they're remaking that D-line. Outside of Quinnen, Will McDonald, and I think I'd like to say Leonard Taylor. I don't think anybody else there is guaranteed a roster spot in 2025. And I'm not even sure Leonard Taylor is. I'd like to say that. But
I think he's been pretty good.
It's
hard to look at guys like that in a 4-12 year and be like these. But I liked what I saw from him.
Low key, so is Eric Watts. I liked Eric Watts a lot. I think he was my favorite UDFA going into the summer. I was really high on him, and he didn't really stand out in the preseason as much as guys like Taylor and McGregor and Tack McKinley, if you remember him, did. But I think he's quietly been pretty solid. And honestly, he probably should be getting a lot of Michael Clemens reps because they occupy that same role. And I think Watts is probably better than him at this stage. But linebacker
says lose this week and pick Mason Graham to replace a lot of those veteran tackles.
All for dude, Mason Graham and Quinnen Williams, sign me up. You want to fix the defensive line in one offseason? You're bringing back Jermaine Johnson. If he is even 80% of what he was pre-injury, you got Jermaine, you got Will McDonald, you got Quinnen Williams, and you got Mason Graham, and then whatever else you need, dude.
Well, I have a crazier idea because part of me is I don't know. I don't know if you're going to make a move up in the division based on picking another defensive tackle. But imagine if they go 3-4, you get Jermaine and Quinnen as your down lineman with Graham in the middle, and then Will McDonald off the edge as a wide 9 guy.
That doesn't utilize Quinnen the best, though,
But it does utilize, I think, Jermaine and Will McDonald the best.
Definitely uses.
And I think Quinnen's good enough where he could still be productive there.
It definitely utilizes McDonald more, but McDonald's been good as a D end anyway. It does.
But the run defense is what I'm worried about.
Run defense is a major issue with him, and it's honestly not talked about a lot. But he is so bad, dude. He's such a bad run defender.
But they knew that going.
They did.
He's been everything they thought that he would be. Bad run defender, super fast, gets to the quarterback.
I think I would have liked him to be a competent run defender. I think Bryce Huff was a semi-competent run defender. He was bad, but he wasn't abysmal. Will McDonald is abysmal, dude.
He's so small.
I forget what his. I was looking at the numbers earlier. His missed tackle rate is so bad. It's terrible. It's an interesting idea. I don't think I would prefer that because I just think it doesn't utilize Quinnen the best. Will McDonald's run defense grade, by the way, 37.7 via PFF.
Oh, Jesus.
He's missed 31% of his tackle attempts.
How?
That's insane. 29.6 tackle rating.
I mean, he was not, in college to pro, but at least when he was at Iowa State, you saw film where you're I could see it with him.
By the way, crazy small sample size, only 2 games, but the second worst run defender is actually Lecky Fotu, which is hilarious.
That's the only reason he's in the NFL was a run defender.
And again, PFF grades are not everything. He also graded out as a very poor run defender in Arizona, so I'm not, stunned by that.
Where do they keep finding these guys?
I don't know. A run-stuffing nose tackle is not a good run defender.
Moving on to linebackers in the defensive back room, I think we're all in agreement, Mosley. Admirable leader, admirable years of service. Not what he was in Baltimore, still very good, made an all-pro team. You got the natural replacement lined up with Jamie and Sherwood.
Yep, they'll have to re-sign Sherwood. You know what? I think his contract could be similar to the Quincy Williams extension. That's going to be my guess.
Yeah, I could see that.
Unless you
it's the same sort of situation where it's the one breakout year after a couple and we're betting on him.
Well, the Quincy contract was before the breakout year. Like they got him under contract right before the breakout. It was like that. Honestly, at the time, I was like, "Oh, this kind of feels like a little bit of an overpay," which is hilarious.
I thought they were doing that just for Quinnen. Like, hey, we'll pay your brother. Yeah.
The thing with Mosley is they're going to have to designate him as a post June 1st cut, which means I think teams can only, correct me if I'm wrong, can teams only do 2 of those? Is that what it is? 2 post June 1st cuts? I'm not positive on that. But they might do it with Rodgers. I don't want them to. If they get rid of Rodgers, I want them taking that dead cap hit up front. I don't want them hurting their 2025 cap more with that. Mosley, they have to. They literally wouldn't save money at all if they cut him pre-June 1st. They would lose $3.65 million. Designate him post-June 1st. They would save $4 million in 2025 and then $3 million in 2026. Unfortunately, the restructure that they did with him added 3 void years. So even though he is technically a free agent after 2025, he is on the books through 2028, and that will remain the case. But if you want to mitigate that cap hit, I mean, I guess they could just take it all up front and just really, really be screwed with their cap this year, which they might. They might do that already with Rodgers. But I think they're more likely to designate as a post-June 1st cut.
And then with the defensive back room, we talked about Reed. I also think this is the end of the road for Chuck Clark too. So I thought has been okay this year.
He just tore his pec. That was announced. That's unfortunate. Really bad timing for him.
That little stuff like that is why I think there's something wrong with the Jets, because it's one thing to add a guy who like is okay, and then he's not as good in the new system. Like Chuck Clark and Morgan Moses over the course of a decade literally never got hurt ever. And now they're hurt all the time.
The thing with Moses is I'll push back and say he did get hurt. He would just play through it and be fine, which is kind of what he's done here. He's just gotten hurt more.
Chuck Clark did not miss a game in his career.
Correct.
He practices for what, a week? And he blew out his Achilles?
ACL.
ACL? Yeah. Or in a week?
Yep. Look, I still love Chuck Clark, and I'd like to bring him back next year as a safety option. I would not be opposed at all. I think he has been everything that the Jets wanted.
I guess it depends what Brick thinks of him.
I guess so. What's his how many missed tackles does Chuck Clark have? Probably very few.
85,000, I think.
No. He doesn't miss any tackles. That's his thing, buddy. He's a great tackler. He's only missed 8 tackles all year. Let's freaking go, Chuck Clark. On a defense that has a major tackling issue, he's been a good tackler, he's been that throughout his entire career. And that's why I would love to bring him back in 2025. Bring back Chuck Clark, bring back Tony Adams, and hopefully convince Brick not to bench him. And then whatever else you got at safety. Maybe Jarius Monroe develops into something. I don't know. Who thought Tony Adams would be a potential starter after year 1? Not me.
Not Woody.
Definitely not Woody now. That's true.
Let's talk about some coaches.
Sure.
And not Rex. If Rex Ryan literally media begs his way into an NFL head coaching job, that just burn this place down, salt the earth, and make sure nothing ever grows here again. If that happens. But let's talk about non-Rex Ryan guys, because there have been a couple names buzzing around the Jets, and I couldn't even think this up how bad some of them are. So one of them, they haven't actually interviewed him yet, but he is gaining some steam, and that's John Gruden. Gruden apparently is being vetted by teams as a possible candidate this year for head coach, and Tom Pelissero reported that he was a consultant with the Saints last year, and they said if he wanted the OC job, they would have given it to him. So the league does not hold Gruden in the same regard as maybe social media or online does.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Do you know what his current role is? Do you know who is?
Oh, yeah. He's with the Italian team. Yeah.
He is with – that's a great name. He is with the Milano Seamen. That's their name.
What?
The Seamen.
Seamen? Oh, Jesus.
Men.
Oh, Christ. Is that not translating Italian?
The SEAMEN. Sorry, we're
is that what people are in the Italian Navy are called?
We gotta give a shout out to the Milano Seamen when we do the Woodies in a couple weeks.
The Milano Seamen.
Anyway, he's an advisor for I have no idea how he got how does that even happen? How does he get?
He gives his phone number to people and they call him saying, "Hey, what do you think about this?" That's it.
There's gotta be a connection, right? Like who is
Joe? Do you know who? They're in a league. I know this in Europe.
Yeah.
You know who the Munich Ravens offensive line coach is right now without looking?
What? No, I don't.
Joe Thomas.
Oh, what? Joe, like the Joe Thomas?
Yes, the Joe Thomas.
That's crazy.
Good for him. Joe Thomas.
Hey, when I was in Germany for a few years, the league was just like starting and picking up steam when I was there, and I think they added a Frankfurt team, which Frankfurt was the city I was near. Right as I was leaving, I was going to start going to games. Like, it would have been kind of cool.
Bring back NFL Europe. What do they have? The Galaxy, the Frankfurt Galaxy.
I don't know. I don't know. That was the team. I don't know if that is the current.
They had the Berlin Thunder. They had a couple teams. I remember.
I don't know what their current team is, but dude, Germans love football. They love it.
More than the rest of Europe, I found. I don't know why.
Yes, it is huge in Germany. There's the Frankfurt Galaxy. And they got a team in Cologne. They got a team in Stuttgart, Berlin.
Let's talk about John Gruden
instead
of globetrotting.
Sorry.
John Gruden would be, I don't know about an F, but certainly a D higher for the Jets, in my opinion. It would be extremely bad. He has amazing PR in terms of his coaching acumen. Because let's get the good out of the way. Won a Super Bowl with Brad Johnson as his quarterback.
Yep.
Can't take that away from him.
Decades ago, but yeah.
His teams are very rarely bad. They can be average. A lot of 7-8 wins in there. The only really bad I remember is when he got to the Raiders the second time and he blew everything up on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were actually building a little bit of a kind of something.
They were mid.
You know what happened with him?
They were mid. The drafts were really bad.
Well, that's the other thing. So that's the good. And he's an offensive guy. And he always had decent offenses. The bad. 67-81 since the Super Bowl. Has not won a playoff game. Well, he won a Super Bowl. Anything beyond, I'm going to say 7 years is the limit.
Right.
Is not applicable when you're hiring a coach. If you won a Super Bowl 5 years ago, I can believe that.
It's been 23 years.
Are people going to say Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl? If he was an available candidate right now, the Jets should not go within 10 feet of Mike McCarthy, which is hard because he's very fat. Looking back at John Gruden.
Damn, that was out of nowhere. That's great. Mike McCarthy catching major strays for no reason.
That's a layup. You got to take the layup.
I guess.
So that's also bad. And also, here's the thing, Justin. Do you remember a guy named Davin Joseph?
Yeah.
He was a guard. He played for a couple years, made a couple Pro Bowls with Tampa.
Yeah.
That is the only player John Gruden ever drafted with Tampa that made a Pro Bowl with Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
He had to keep Talib too, but he didn't make a Pro Bowl with Tampa.
He was a good player, though.
Then with the Raiders, horrible drafter.
His drafts were really bad with the Raiders.
But the one time he had a good class was 2021. Josh Jacobs, Max Crosby, Hunter Renfrow.
No, 2019.
2019, excuse me. Then right as that's starting to crest, he resigns. Why did he resign? Extremely offensive emails that were sent to people within the league, calling people slurs that I don't want to repeat.
I don't think we can. I think we can
targeting gay people a lot when he was the coach of at the time, the first active gay player in the league, Carl Nassib.
Mm-hmm.
Not great. Very bad even. Disqualifying it should be. So not only are the Jets getting a guy who's past their prime, they're getting a guy who resigned in disgrace.
Yeah.
And has not won a playoff game in over 20 years since Lose Yourself by Eminem was at the top of the charts. You talk about living in the past. This is living in the past, even more so than Rex. Rex would be a better hire than this. I think Rex would be a bad hire. I've seen more stuff recently from Rex.
The draft classes with Gruden, because I was covering the Raiders at the time.
And I will say too, I know they're gonna have a GM. If you hire a guy like him, he's gonna have a ton of influence in the draft. So be ready for that.
What always stood out to me about Gruden's drafts and the Raiders drafts during that Gruden era was that teams getting busts, right? There's misses here and there. There's busts.
And he had on a couple. Everybody hits on a couple.
And it happens. The Raiders drafts were so uniquely bad. It reminded me of the Idzik era Jets, where it's these guys aren't just bad; they're out of the NFL. They don't even make it 3 years in the NFL. Look at
remember when PJ Hall was projected the 350th best player, and they picked him 52nd or something.
PJ Hall and Sam Houston say that's his first draft class. Colton Miller actually ended up being good, but after that,
Cleveland Farrell at 4.
Yep. After that, PJ Hall, Brandon Parker, Arden Key were his third-round picks. Nick Nelson, who didn't even play in the league, he played
I thought he'd be good, man. I remember in Wisconsin. No, that's a miss on me.
2019 takes Cleveland Farrell fourth overall, which People were like, Farrell's a good player, solid,
He was like a late first-round pick, not 4.
He was a mid to late first-round pick, well-rounded player. They took
He wasn't even the best defensive lineman on his old team because that was the Dexter Lawrence draft.
They took him 4th overall ahead of Josh Allen, the edge rusher, ahead of Ed Oliver, T.J. Hawkinson, Rashawn Gary, Christian Wilkins. I mean, these guys,
Lamar,
Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons, all guys playing the same freaking positions. Insane. And then after that, as this page refreshed me, so 2019, so Jacobs, fine, first round. I mean, probably not worth a first-round pick for the Raiders. Didn't do he had one good year with them. Jonathan Abram, first-round pick, complete bust. Trayvon Mullen, second-round pick, complete bust. Max Crosby, that's his one. That's he can hang his hat on that. Hunter Renfrow, I guess, had the one really good year with the Raiders, but sure, man. 2020, this might be his crowning achievement. Is 2020 and 2021, his final 2 drafts. I don't think there's a single good player in these drafts. Henry Ruggs first round, Damon Arnett first.
Looked like he could have been a good player, and then he killed somebody.
Ruggs and Arnett lasted 2 years in the NFL. They had 2 first-round picks.
Arnett was the guy, wasn't he? Like, I remember he posted that video with the gun. Yeah. It wasn't even a gun. It looked like a turret from World War II. I'm like, where do you purchase that?
He was also hot garbage on the field.
And he was even at Ohio State. They're like, this guy's a first-round pick. I'm like, how?
Yep,
he gets beat all the time.
He was somebody who rode his stock all the way from high school to Ohio State, and people were like, "Oh, he's going to be really good. Like, watch for Damon Arnett." And then he just was never good. And then it's not even like
I remember when it's not even like when recruits never play, and then NFL teams are like, "Well, I could still get the athleticism out of him." He played and was bad.
Yep.
But the drafting almost is the immaterial part.
Yeah.
Well, it was not only the personal stuff too. He's just so outdated.
Ruggs and Arnett, then Lynn Bowden Jr., 3rd-round pick. Brian Edwards, 3rd-round pick. Both of those guys are already out of the league. Tanner Muse. He was the top 100 pick on Tanner Muse, Mike.
I remember him being okay. I think the problem was he was a linebacker in college. You put him at safety.
Correct. They played him at safety. He was garbage. He didn't play. He never played a game for the Raiders. He was cut before he played a game as a 3rd-round pick. And then 4th round, John Simpson, who shout out John Simpson because he's great with the Jets now. Trash with the Raiders, absolutely garbage. And Amik Robertson, they had what is that? 7 picks in the first 4 rounds, none of them good. Literally none of them good. And in 2021, I won't go through the whole thing, but that was the Alex Leatherwood year. Alex Leatherwood, Trayvon Moehrig, just a disaster draft.
Moehrig's okay.
He's fine. He's fine,
but still,
and they used the top 43 pick on him. He was the 43rd overall.
You're not hanging your hat on him.
No, if that's your best draft pick. So I'm very anti John Gruden for the drafting, for the controversy, for the fact that he has not had success in the NFL in 20 years.
The fact he's going to also, I know him and Rex are good with press conferences, but, man, when they start losing,
yes,
it's not – that's part of why this season sucks is because there's always a quote that people make fun of afterwards.
Yep.
If it's Olbrich or Rodgers. You want more of that? You really want more of that?
Please, I don't. So no Gruden. We've already talked a lot about Rex. Ron Rivera is the other guy. The Jets are bringing him in for an interview tomorrow as we speak.
I couldn't even believe this.
Look, okay. Before we go into why we don't want Ron Rivera as the Jets head coach, I want to say this. I don't believe that Ron Rivera is a serious head coach candidate for the Jets.
You think he's just Rooney Rule checking a box?
I mean, I don't want to say that. That almost feels mean to say that.
Woody would do it. Would he not do stuff like that?
Well, I mean, because they're probably going to interview Aaron Glenn too. I don't think this. I don't think
they need 2 now. So that's.
Oh, you need. It's.
You need 2 candidates for.
I hate talking about the rule. It makes me uncomfortable. I hate it. But no, I don't think it's that. I think they're just doing their due diligence, quote unquote. I'm going to use all the terms that are thrown out there. The same terms the Jets used in 2021 before they hired Saleh. They're doing their due diligence. They're casting a wide net. They're doing all that stuff. They're bringing in the guys right now that they can interview before they get into the Aaron Glenn's of the world or the Liam Cohens or whoever else they're going to bring in that they can't interview right now because the season's going on. I would expect Mike Vrabel to get an interview very soon, probably within the next week. They'll set something up because now his contract with the Browns officially expired, so he is eligible to be interviewed. But for the guys like Rex Ryan, the Ron Riveras of the world, whoever, who are not under contract in an NFL team right now, that's why they're bringing him in. They're doing their due diligence. They're getting as much information as possible. Just like when they brought in Jim Nagy as a GM candidate, I don't sincerely believe, and maybe that's just coping. Maybe that's me just being a Jets fan and being like, they can't possibly be this dumb. And then they hire Adam Gase, right? Maybe that's
they could.
Maybe it's that, right?
They said what? They said, hold my beer. Watch this, son.
Yeah, they'll hire Adam Gase and John Gruden within 6 years of each other. But no, I truly don't believe that Rivera is a legitimate candidate. But I think we're in agreement here in that he would be a very bad hire.
I would like Ron Rivera as an assistant head coach.
Sure.
As a linebackers coach.
Advisor, something like that.
Yeah, even if he just coaches, because he was a linebacker himself. I don't want him as a coordinator. No. I don't think he's Adam Gase, where he's a complete windbag, where he just sucks the life out of the room. I think he's a nice guy. Yes. I think he's a good football guy. I think he's experienced, and I think he still knows defensive football a little bit. Like, sure. I think he could help guys like Jamie Sherwood and Quincy Williams. I don't think that's a stretch.
Sure.
You cannot. Woody, I know you're listening. Come here. I'm going to get real close to the mic here.
Rick might be in chat right now.
Brick, put. I know you're playing Fortnite or whatever. Put that down because apparently you're the GM.
Burley Sullivan. Is this Brick? Said Rogers can't release
the Brick, yeah.
Is Brick, is that you?
Brick, put Fortnite down. Woody, come here. Or if you're too infirmed, have your at-home nurse come here and she'll report back to you. Do not hire Ron Rivera to be your head coach. Absolutely do not.
Coming from the same guys who also asked you to sign Tyron Smith and Mike Williams, though.
Yeah. Again, who else wanted to sign Tyron Smith and Mike Williams? A lot of people. You see anybody else clamoring for Ron Rivera right now?
I hope not.
And I know he won a Super Bowl in got to a Super Bowl, in Carolina. And I know he probably had something to do with helping Cam Newton.
No, Carolina Ron Rivera was great. I thought
I also think
the Panthers.
He got carried by Cam Newton in his prime, who made up for so many deficiencies. Mm-hmm. He has never had 2 winning seasons in a row in Carolina. Even though he won the division a lot, he's never had 2. Yeah. I think he would win the division with 7-8 wins sometimes.
They won the division 3 years in a row, but only one of the two of those. They won 12 games, and then they went 7-8-1 and won the division, and then they went 15-1.
And that was just Cam going supernova.
Yeah, it was Cam going super Cam. And then they won 11 games 2 years later.
And then Washington, I don't even fault Washington under their old name or their new name or their old name or whatever they're called. I don't even fault them for hiring Ron Rivera because I thought it made sense. He was like a good bounce back guy.
For sure. Hold on.
And then it just totally flaked away. He's a dinosaur as a head coach.
Is Ron Rivera the only head coach in NFL history to win a division with 7 wins with 2 different teams? Surely, right? Because he
got to be.
He was 7-8-1 with the Panthers in 2014.
I remember Mike Holmgren did it once. No, it might have been Mike Holmgren or Pete Carroll. It was the Marshawn Lynch, the Beastquake.
Yes. Yep.
That year they won 7 games.
Yep. And just like that, the 7-8 Panthers also won a playoff game as well.
Well, that was against Ryan Lindley. So
true, but Ryan Lindley, the worst quarterback to ever start a playoff game, and he started 2. But yeah, and then Rivera won 7 games and won the NFC East in his first year with Washington.
I think he's a quarterback coach now, Ryan Lindley.
Really? Where
I think he was with the Browns for a while.
For the Seaman, for the Milano Seaman.
No, not for the Seaman.
He is a senior.
Don't clip that out of context.
He's a senior offensive analyst for San Diego State.
But that's where he played in college. Okay.
I feel like he got downgraded here because he was the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach last year, and somehow now he's only the.
Because they hired Sean Lewis, who was Kent State. Oh,
Kent State! And
he was Colorado's OC the first year with Shador, so he's like the OC and the play caller and the head coach.
Dude, shout out Kent State. He also was at Syracuse, Sean Lewis. I believe he was the OC at Syracuse.
Yes, he was. So I don't think he got demoted. I guess that is, but he's running the offense, Sean Lewis, anyway. So
hell yeah, shout out Sean Lewis.
Moving off Ron Rivera, because not only are they going to hire a new coach, you also got to find a new quarterback. And we've talked about some possible options. This guy over here is in on Kirk Cousins.
No, don't frame it that way. That is
not in on it, but rather not opposed to the idea. I'm
not opposed. My preference would be Justin Fields right now. That'd be my preference.
We both mentioned Justin Fields as a guy who could work as like a 1-year stopgap guy. Possibly, if he shakes loose, maybe you take a look at Derek Carr. I don't know. But now a new challenger has entered the fray just in this Royal Rumble. And then you hear the music coming. It is J.J. McCarthy, who the Jets traded down with the Vikings because the Vikings wanted to move up a pick to secure J.J. McCarthy from Michigan last year. And Adam Schefter is reporting now, because it looked like all the world after J.J. McCarthy blew out his meniscus, that they were just going to take it on the chin with a year for Darnold. And then Darnold, who knows what happens to him, and then McCarthy moves in 2025. Darnold has played so well. He has 35 touchdowns this year.
He's been great, dude.
35 touchdowns. Nobody saw this coming.
Kevin O'Connell's working his magic. Shout out Darnold. That's not meant to take away.
Yeah. But no, even Sam Darnold didn't think he'd do this.
No, for sure. Obviously not. No way.
And with every win, because the Vikings are 14-2 now, it's hard to throw that away. So there's a more realistic chance that Sam Darnold is the long-term guy in Minnesota. And Schefter says, you know what? If teams ask for J.J. McCarthy, there's going to be some discussions, because I know the whole let him sit and develop thing makes sense, but this is not Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, where it's an older guy. Darnold's 27. He's in the prime of his career. You can't let McCarthy just marinate there forever like Michael Penix was supposed to with Kirk Cousins. You can't have that happen. So teams in this market are cursed a little bit this year, because it's a weak market and it's a weak quarterback class. Schefter has said McCarthy would be the number one quarterback in this class if he was coming out this year. I disagree. I think he'd be better than Sanders, but not better than Ward as a prospect for me.
He's in the conversation.
I had him and Bo Nix were basically even. I think I had McCarthy 4, Nix 5 in terms of quarterback prospects. And actually had Penix way down on the list at 6. But I could see there's an appeal to J.J. McCarthy. Won a lot at Michigan, has an arm, throws off platform, smart guy. My concerns are twofold for the Jets particularly. Number one, they're probably going to want a first-round pick for him. They picked him 10. They're not going to trade him for a second-round pick. Mm-hmm. So the Jets would have to give up, either probably trade down from a top 10 pick to like the middle of the first round and then move off that for McCarthy. A lot of moving and shaking, especially for a new GM. Yeah. For a guy coming off an injury, by the way, a bad knee injury. He's a skinny guy anyway, so who knows what will happen there. And then on top of that, if you get J.J. McCarthy, if you're looking at him as a prospect, I don't really think he has like a standout trait.
100%.
Now, Bo Nix is working more than I thought he would. He reminds me of Nix in that they're like okay in everything. Above average, good arm, moves okay, accurate enough, kind of mobile, but doesn't have that trait. Anthony Richardson had an arm. Caleb Williams had the off-platform throws. Mm-hmm. Drake May was a dual threat guy with good deep accuracy. Jane Daniels had the athleticism. I don't get that with McCarthy. So if I want to start this new era with McCarthy and the Jets, I don't know if he has as much to build around. Like, I think Ward's got a better arm, and I think Sanders is probably more accurate down the field if you want either of those two. And I think Justin Fields is in a different class of athleticism compared to him. And you got to give him a first-round pick for it.
Yep. It
wouldn't be the worst idea ever, because it would give you like a long-term plan, and it would help you get a quarterback in a weak quarterback class. Like Jalen Milroe, I don't know if he'll go first round. He was bad in the bowl game. It's a bowl game, I get it. Cam Ward played a half, so it shouldn't influence your evaluation, but he's on the fringes of the first round. And if the Jets want a quarterback, a young guy, you got to look at him at least.
I'll say a statement that's going to enrage a lot of fans. I'd rather the Jets use a first-round pick on Jalen Milroe than trade a first for J.J. McCarthy. I don't think I'd prefer either at this stage, and I know that statement is going to make a lot of people mad because there's a lot of people who are very low on Jalen Milroe right now, and they're probably the same people that are very high on J.J. McCarthy. My issues with McCarthy are very similar to what you said, and I'm glad you brought up the upside thing, because when I'm looking at a quarterback that I want to build around, a young quarterback that I think you should take a chance on, especially the new regime coming in, you are going to draft your guy. You're going to whoever you're going for, that is your guy. Like, that is the first person you are hitching your wagon to. I don't think that should be J.J. McCarthy. There's nothing that I want when I watched J.J. McCarthy at Michigan, when I saw him this summer at Minnesota, nothing that I see that makes me think this guy's going to be a star quarterback. I think he could be fine. I think he could be a serviceable quarterback in the NFL. And I'm glad you brought up Bo Nix, too, because I think a lot of the reason Bo Nix is succeeding, sure, some of it is him, and I think
Sean Payton.
Exactly. Maybe people were a little lower on him than they should have been, but Sean Payton's working his magic. And we've been very critical of Sean Payton in the past, calling him a fake QB guru. No, he's doing his thing right now. A lot of Bo Nix's production
he sure showed me.
Is coming because of his scheme and because of the situation that he's in. And I think for J.J. McCarthy to find that same level of success in the NFL, it's going to have to be a similar situation. And I don't want to hitch my wagon to a guy like that. Now, if the price tag was different and say maybe they're asking for a second-round pick, maybe I'm a little bit more interested. I mean, the Jets aren't going to – if the Jets are going to get a top 10 pick, they're not trading that pick to Minnesota. What could, in theory, happen, and I think you might have approached me with this, Mike, is like a swap of first-round picks. Like, say the Vikings pick 28th or something, whatever they end up picking, and then the Jets are picking 7th, whatever. Swap those picks. It's basically the equivalent of a first-round pick anyway, I'm pretty sure.
And Mason Graham to the Vikings. Oh, geez.
Right. That's something that I think would be realistic. I don't want to do that. I'm just saying that, like, because the Jets aren't trading a top 10 pick for McCarthy. I feel like we can confidently say that. Yeah. Because the other part of it is that not only is this a quarterback prospect who, even if he was just, say he was coming out this year, say last year didn't happen, he didn't have the knee injury, he didn't miss a year of his rookie year, I still wouldn't be gung-ho about drafting him and hitching my wagon to him and saying this is the guy, right? I wouldn't be. Now, factoring in the fact that he is coming off a knee injury that caused him to miss his entire rookie season, and because of that, you have one less year of team control, which is really important. That does make you less valuable. It's the whole thing of, like, you know, you buy a car from the dealership and as soon as you leave, now it's less valuable. Like, if you own a car for a year, it's less valuable than it was a year ago. That is the case with J.J. McCarthy because now he's still an unknown. We still don't know what he is at the NFL level. We don't really have that super high ceiling with him. And you have one less year of team control, and he's coming off the knee injury. I think he's less valuable than he was last year, and I still wouldn't have loved if the Jets took last year's version of J.J. McCarthy this year. I don't love the idea. It's not the worst idea, like you said, but for the price tag, it sounds like they're going to want, which is probably a first-round pick. I'd much rather go the Justin Fields route or other options.
I would be in on the swap a little bit more than you because you still keep your first, you get your quarterback. And honestly, if you look at the positions they need right now, like defensive tackle is super deep this year. If you wanted to do that, there's a couple cornerbacks you could grab there. In that right, like the positions they need, you can get. So like I don't think it would be what I would prefer to do, but it would certainly be something that I could see working. Here's a thought experiment I want to do with you, though.
Sure.
Let's say same situation. Vikings quarterback hurts his knee. Darnold, great. Jets knee, like everything's the same, but instead of J.J. McCarthy, it's Drake May, where bigger guy, stronger arm, better athlete, but the same sort of thing. Injury, hasn't played. Then do you do it? Like, is it a McCarthy thing or a principle thing?
No, it's a McCarthy thing.
Okay.
I'd be much more likely to do it because there's upside with Drake May. Even ignoring if we didn't see him play this year at all, we see the upside. Like, I think if Drake May hits, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If in a perfect scenario, if he hits his absolute ceiling, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If he just hits normally, he could be a top 10 quarterback. JJ McCarthy, I think in his best case scenario, is the 10th best quarterback in the NFL. Maybe in a perfect situation, if he develops like all of his weaknesses, like I think it becomes the best version of himself, and he's put in an ideal situation, he's maybe the 10th best quarterback in the NFL. I don't maybe like the 8th best, something like that, right? Like I don't see the arm talent there with him. He doesn't really have any special traits. Drake May has special traits, and as Lucas in chat asks about Drew Aller, Drew Aller said that he's going back to Penn State. There is still a little talk. Maybe he changes his mind. And I did say this when he went back to Penn State. I'm like, I get why he wants to do it, and probably for his development.
It's a gamble either way because he could be the number 1 pick next year. But in a weak quarterback class, he's pretty much guaranteed to be a first-round pick this year.
Yeah. I think he'd be a first-round pick if he came out this year. I think he'd probably be the 3rd best quarterback. I think he would probably be taken ahead of Milroe right now. And I would take Drew Aller. I don't know if I'd want to take him at like 6 or 7 if the Jets are picking there. So that's very high. Maybe they trade down and see, but I don't know. Maybe you can't really do that.
Yeah, if you like them,
so
you know.
If they like him, you take him there. And I wouldn't hate it if they took him 6th or 7th overall. I'd like that more than McCarthy because at least there's upside.
Bigger arm, like stronger guy. Who still moves well.
Absolutely. And obviously he's raw. I don't necessarily want him starting week 1. It's the same thing with Milroe, but you see what he can be. And I think if you hit on someone
Milroe's
like that,
a crazy athlete too, at least.
Absolutely. Jalen Milroe's a crazy athlete. I mean, I see the Jalen Hurts comparisons. He's got an even better arm than Jalen Hurts. Like
Jalen Hurts, I did not like as a Jalen Hurts as a passer was not good in college.
Well, that's what's funny. that's what's funny is people like there's a lot of Jalen Milroe to Jalen Hurts comparisons, and I think people forget that Jalen Hurts was not a very good
He
prospect.
was considered very overdrafted when the Eagles took him in the second round. Now he proved all of them wrong, but
was it second? I thought it was
no, he was the second round, and that was right after the Wentz deal. People were like, "What are they doing?" And then
yeah, he was second round. He was towards the end of the second round, but yeah. Well, Jalen Hurts is somebody who is a side tangent. I feel like that's someone you never bet against in the NFL because he's consistently gotten better at every stage of his career. I think there was a point where he definitely got a little overrated a year ago or 2 years ago now, but he's whenever you see a player consistently up their level of play and get better at every because you looked at him back at Alabama, dude, I would have swore he was never going to be an NFL quarterback. Like I was like, this guy, he can't play quarterback at the NFL level. Now, like,
he got benched in the national championship.
Yeah,
for Tua,
and so shout out Jalen Hurts. But I think that's funny when people talk about Milroe and they're comparing him to Hurts, and I'm like, well, it's the best comparison because like if you're saying that, then you're saying he's like a third round pick prospect. Like you're saying he's a third round caliber prospect, which maybe that is what you're saying about Jalen Milroe.
My Milroe thing is basically I'm just going to copy and paste my Justin Fields evaluation. Whatever you thought of Justin Fields, you're going to think of Jalen Milroe. Fields is a better. Okay. Like, I think he's a little more accurate than Milroe.
Yeah, Fields is a better prospect.
But like style, they're identical.
Sure, but great athletes, great
runners. Let's get to a couple comments. Cam Norwood. Pats won the season, not nearly as pathetic with a better pick and future. No, disagree.
I mean, all right, talk to Pats fans. I think they disagree. Patriots fans are freaking out right now.
Oh, like God, this team with no receivers and no offensive line and no pass rush with a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback that everybody knew would be bad going into the year. Oh, my God, they're bad.
It's actually hilarious. Like 1 year of adversity broke that franchise. If you give the Jets fan base the season the Patriots just had, they'd be.
It's not even that. I've seen people be like, because when did Brady leave? That was 2020 was the first year with no Brady. That was Cam and then Mac Jones. May. Okay.
Yep.
They've gone 5 years of terrible play. That's like 5 years of regular. Because the Cam year they were okay. They were like a 500 team. The Mac year they made the playoffs. With a rookie Mac Jones. Yeah. Josh McDaniels, I don't know how he managed that. Then mid because of a good defense, and then the two bad years. Like, that's a pretty regular stretch for most teams.
Jets fans would be so excited if they got a rookie season from a quarterback like Drake May. Like, if Drake May was on the Jets and he did even remotely what he did with the Patriots this year, which wasn't even like
the best Jets rookie quarterback season ever?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Who would be bad? I mean, I don't know. I can't remember every single Jets rookie season, but if a quarterback that I've seen in my lifetime,
probably
absolutely.
Darnold would have had the bet right. Like
really the best.
Chad Pennington didn't play the rookie year.
Yeah, it wasn't Geno. That's honestly, it's probably true because a lot of
Sanchez went to the championship game.
What did Ken O'Brien do?
I don't think he played. Man, Mark Sanchez got to the AFC Championship game, but he was bad, so I don't know.
Yeah, O'Brien didn't start a lot of the years. Started 5 games, so yeah, he was good his second year. That was Pro Bowl year.
He was not he was not a bad quarterback, Ken O'Brien. And then Lucas, a win this week would be catastrophic, and Snoop Huntley we trust.
Agreed.
Takes you out of the true blue chip prospect range in this class.
100%. Again, root for whoever you want. If you want to root for the Jets to ruin the Dolphins season, totally go for it. By all means, have fun.
Wait a minute, Justin.
But what?
That comment, yeah.
Who is that? Who said that? That's Casey and Candy.
Casey and Candy. I think there's a dog there. I hope the dog is a dog. If that's Casey or Candy, then that's acceptable because that's a take a dog would have and not a human being with a functioning brain.
Hold on. Does Woody Johnson have dogs?
He doesn't seem like he's capable of loving a dog like that. So he seems like the Grinch.
You know what's funny? His sons' names are Jack and Brick, and those are totally like dog names.
Jack and Brick.
If you told me Brick could be Brick's not a human
dog
being.
named Brick.
Find me another person named Brick. Don't say DeBrickashaw first.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I knew you were gonna say that, but yeah, I'm with you, Lucas. A win would be catastrophic is a strong word, but it'd be bad. The Jets could pick as high as second. They could pick as low as ninth. If the Jets win, they're picking ninth. They're picking somewhere around there, and you are absolutely out of the range for blue chip prospects in this draft. Say goodbye to Mason Graham. Say goodbye to Abdul Carter. Whoever want the Jets to pick. But if they lose, they could climb up to as high as 2, 3, 4. Like that's massive. Right now, if the Jets had lost to the Jaguars and they didn't beat them, they would have the second overall pick in the draft right now. These games matter. These games really do matter. It's not just, oh, let's get, vibes up. Let's have a good Sunday. No. This affects the future of the franchise. It's really important. So I will be absolutely rooting for a loss this week. Again, not everyone has to do that. I'm not saying that everyone has to do that, but I will be rooting.
Okay, Cam Norwood's going in on the. Hey, Justin, I don't know if you noticed, Sam Darnold looks good this year. Without did you know?
Yeah, wait. Gino's been pretty good, right?
He's looked very good with the Seahawks.
Kai Becton's had a really Braden Mann is killing it as the Eagles.
Becton pisses me off because I always see Eagles fans with like, he went through so much adversity. I'm like, he did it all. He got himself so fat he couldn't play. Then he blamed it on other people. Then he's good now because he changed positions after refusing to.
To be fair, Greg Van Roten started this. He's the guy who started when he threw that defender, the Panthers defender, into Becton's knee. That started everything. That was really when the downfall started.
He went through so much adversity. Yeah, Sideshow Bob went through adversity when he stepped on rakes. He's stepping on the rakes.
That's actually a really funny analogy. Oh, wow. Cam says Celtics back-to-back. What are we doing? This is a Celtics fan. Ew, get out of here. Gross. Hey, if the Knicks win tonight, I think they're tied with the Celtics, right? Isn't that true? Or are they game back?
Meanwhile, Nets fans are upset they're playing Cam Thomas because they're winning too much.
Hold on. By the way, look, I gotta say, we'll end the show with this, right? I gave my thanks to Optimum last week for finally fixing my internet. And you know what they rewarded me with, Mike? You know what their parting shot was like, oh yeah, we finally fixed your internet. They just dropped MSG as of today. There is a disagreement between MSG and Optimum. The Knicks aren't on. I don't care.
But the Nets are on, yes.
I don't care. I'm not a Nets fan. So I tonight cannot watch the Knicks on MSG because of fucking up. Carlos can't fix that. Lindsay can't fix it for me. Pat can't fix it.
Carlos. All right, one last question and then we'll end the show. God, Lucas, how would you guys feel about the Aaron Glenn hire? I'm starting to think there's a pretty decent chance he is who they end up with.
I'd like it.
Again, former Jet. Here's the problem I have with Aaron Glenn, and I don't know how to evaluate this because you want guys who are good as a coordinator, ideally. The first couple years in Detroit, he was very bad. Like, they were talking about firing him bad. Then he looks okay. This year, he was great. He had, like, the second defense in the league. I know guys have been hurt, but the last couple weeks, they're getting up like 30-something points every game.
Aaron Glenn, like the discourse around Aaron Glenn, every narrative about him is almost identical to Robert Saleh. It is nearly identical. Robert Saleh was nearly fired in his first couple of years in San Francisco.
And then he had the great year, and then he has an okay year with injuries, like the same sort of thing.
It's the same type of thing where it's like, oh, he's a culture changer. He's coming from a good organization, which is so funny we're saying that about the Lions. It's true, though. He's coming from a good organization. He's a culture changer. He is what you want. He's a defensive coordinator, first-time head coach. It's the exact same narrative. And I don't know what that says about Aaron Glenn because I still do like Aaron Glenn as a candidate. But I also really liked Robert Saleh as a candidate.
We stole Saleh when we hired him.
The one thing that maybe differentiates it is the fact that Glenn is a former player. Former player with the Jets, was a very good player for a long time.
I've seen people like, oh, he's going to bring guys from the Lions staff. I'm like, Saleh brought guys from the Niners staff, and y'all hated him.
Look, the thing is, they brought Mike LaFleur. That was a good hire. That was
a good hire, and then Zach Wilson killed him, and then you got Nathaniel Hackett.
Did the Lions have like a passing game coordinator, a run game coordinator? Who they had like out there? So who would he bring?
Randall L is their receivers coach.
I said this last time. Mark Brunell, Jets legend Mark Brunell, is their.
I feel like he'd go with Ben Johnson though.
Yeah, probably. So I don't.
Because if both of them get jobs, then he can't even get all the best offensive guys because Ben Johnson's going to take them.
That is the unfortunate thing, is if both, which I assume Ben Johnson is finally leaving this offseason if he doesn't.
Supposedly the Bears and him are like.
That's what it sounds like. You're right. He probably will take some of these guys. Passing game coordinator is Tanner Engström. I can't pretend to be familiar with him.
Didn't he used to play for the Seahawks or something?
No, he didn't play in the NFL. I don't know who you're thinking.
Oh, I was thinking of Tanner Engström. Okay.
Who is that? I don't know who that is either.
I think he played for the Seahawks.
Maybe. I don't know. But he's been with the Lions for a while. He's actually the offensive coordinator of the DC Defenders in the original or second original XFL.
Okay, well, I coached a mean CYO basketball team, so that gives me the same qualifications.
I led Kent State to a national championship in NCAA 14. Okay. I don't know. But I like Aaron Glenn as a candidate. I have some concerns, I guess, with like who he might be bringing in. I think he might have to look outside of the organization, of the Lions organization, which is fine as long as it's the right guys. But I definitely would not dislike the hire. There are a lot worse hires they can make. Aaron Glenn is near the top of my list still. Vrabel's probably ahead of him. Maybe Liam Cohen is ahead of him. There's a few guys, but
I just want Baker to get a coordinator for more than a year. He's had every year he has a new one.
It's so funny. Bucs fans want to fire Todd Bowles so bad, and it's mostly for that exact reason, where they're like, God, we keep having these great offensive coordinators here, and they keep leaving. Like for Bowles, Bowles is getting carried by these OCs. Which I mean, I'm happy for Todd Bowles that he's finding success elsewhere, but it's unfortunate that a team that has been pretty good the last few years, their fan base is so down on their coach and wants him fired.
And with that, we're going to call time on the Jet Press podcast. Thank you for taking some time out of your New Year's Day. I don't know if you're at work. I don't know if you got the day off or whatever, but whatever you did, thank you guys for tuning in. You know where to find us for the audio side of things on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Liking the stream, subscribing, those things really do help. So, Justin, any final thoughts on the week before what is finally, mercifully, the end of this goddamn New York Jets season?
It's it's our first stream of 2025. It's gonna be a good year for the Jet Press, hopefully, for the Jet Press podcast. We appreciate everybody who's stuck around with us over the last couple of years now, man. We've been doing this for a while, right? When did we start this? We started this 2020.
I remember, 2023.
Yeah,
so yeah, because our first ever Jet Press podcast was, hey, probably don't fire Mike LaFleur, and then right after our podcast, they fired Mike LaFleur.
Wow, so we're going almost 2 years.
Yeah,
that's dude. That's crazy. Shout out everyone who's been here since at least that first year. That's crazy. We appreciate you guys. And yeah, next Sunday will be our last post-game live stream of what has been probably the worst season in modern and maybe ever in Jets history. I would say the most disappointing and probably the most unlikable team. I think this team has passed 2016 for me as the most unlikable Jets team. So I'm glad it's almost over. I'm glad we're finally at the end. But until next time, until Sunday, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter at Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press and the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. You could also become a member, a channel member today. It is 99 cents. You get your comments prioritized in chat, and it's a great way to help support the show. So we appreciate everybody who always tunes in and our members and everybody. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and live immediately following every single Jets game for the last time, I should say, this Sunday. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That's Mike Luciano. Happy New Year, folks. We'll see you guys on Sunday.
Happy New Year, and hopefully bigger and better things for this goddamn team in 2025.